Okay, I know I said I wasn't done with the Infinity mode, but I wasn't expecting it to be literally my next video, and much less so, I wasn't expecting it to be a direct follow-up to that one. But since I already showed where and when every survivor is, why not just go the whole 9 yards at this point and give a general guide? You can go to that previous video if you want the survivor locations. I'm not going to waste your time repeating them here. I also had to delete the footage of that 9-day run to make space for this video's footage, so I couldn't do that even if I wanted to, and I'm not about to spend another 16 hours in this game mode. But it hardly matters, because you don't really need to hunt down every survivor, or even any of the survivors if you really want to unlock your laser sword and underpants. Instead, this video will go over some general advice you'll want before you head into the mode, and explain where the mall's food naturally spawns, as well as the safest locations to stop and take a break, since you will need to wait out the clock in order to maximize your heals. This, along with that survivor location video, will help you form your own path through your own voluntary 7 days in hell. Before you begin, you cannot earn PP in this mode, so wait until you're level 50 before attempting this mode for the best odds. This also means that all books affecting prestige points are worthless. The blue PP bar is now yellow. This isn't just a timer for how long until you lose a block of health, it actually shows you just how much you have of your current health block. You can take advantage of this and learn how much damage attacks deal if you're interested. Be careful about maximizing each heal. Frank needs about 2.5 seconds to eat food, so don't wait until he's literally about to die, as Frank has to finish his eating animation for the health to register. Food items will not respawn once they're picked up, even if you drop them again, so leave all food items in the mall alone until you're sure you're going to use them. Also, all infinite food dispensers have been disabled, and you cannot enter the supermarket at all. Frank's camera and watch are also disabled, so you'll need a sniper rifle to zoom in at any given time, and you'll need to make use of the clocks around the mall to know what time it is. The door connecting the security room to the entrance plaza is usable for the entire mode. Frank can also use the shortcut to Wonderland Plaza and Paradise Plaza, even if you never saved Greg on that profile. All 3 health books are available. One is in the entrance plaza on the 2nd floor bookstore, one is in the Wonderland Plaza bookstore, and one is in the storage room that you need to defeat Cliff to access in North Plaza. This one is especially important since it will double healing instead of giving a 50% boost. Blenders are disabled in this mode to avoid mixed drink spam and to avoid potential infinite healing. This also makes the cooking book in the game completely useless. Ovens, on the other hand, are still in the game and are pretty damn important when you find raw meat or uncooked pizzas. Boss weapons do not respawn when the boss is defeated, so you need to be smart about using them. Criminal Biology in the Wonderland Plaza bookstore will allow you to make all of them last 3 times as long. Finally, boss themes do not play when you enter an area, so you need to keep an ear out for the voice clips before settling down. Thankfully, you should be able to hear the bosses from a fairly far distance, and any boss who is capable of movement will immediately start running to your location the moment you load into an area. So, you won't have to wait long to find out. Okay, now that we got the formalities out of the way, the helipad is relatively safe. While zombies spawn up here from the start of day 1, their numbers never truly rise, so there's always going to be plenty of space. You can also get on top of the entrance to the security room if you truly want to play it safe. But no food ever spawns out here, so you should never really come out here unless there's an enemy who spawned. And you really don't want to wait out here unless you need your health to lower enough to maximize a heal. The security room is the safest place in the mall. Starting on day 5, zombies will begin to spawn in here, but most are in the hallway leading to the entrance plaza, so as long as you ignore that path, you'll be fine. Every other room only has 3 to 5 zombies. The vent area, on the other hand, will never have any zombies at all, so it's the safest place in case of an emergency. The monitor room actually has a clock, so it's always worth hiding out in there, even if you have to kill a few zombies to make it safe. Do be aware that the light can be reflected on the glass of the clock, which, while technologically impressive for 2006, can make it hard to read from a lot of angles. No food will naturally spawn in here either. Then there's the rooftop. Zombies will fill up the elevator in the front of the safe house ventilation shaft about 12 in-game hours in. A single bit of cabbage spawns out here, which is mostly just to get the idea in your head that food will spawn in different places than it did in 72-hour mode. There's a few safe places zombies cannot reach you here, but honestly, if you need a safe place to hide out, head to the warehouse or the safe room. Speaking of the warehouse, you'll find 2 squashes, one by each of the entrances to the rooftop. The scaffoldings are easily the safest place here, but honestly, you can just stay by whatever way you entered into the warehouse and you won't be at much immediate risk. At most, you might have to kill a few zombies, but as long as you don't walk away, nothing will respawn. And thanks to how angular and kind of awkward the warehouse is to move around, zombies are very unlikely to wander in your general direction. Ah, Paradise Plaza. What in 72-hour mode was a haven of healing so that way you could always get your bearings, barely has any food in it at all. In the kids' clothing store by the staircase, you'll find a carton of OJ behind the counter. Colombian Roastmasters has 2 pies and 2 jugs of orange juice by the counter as well. Finally, Jill Sandwiches has another bottle of OJ behind the registers, and 2 baguettes at the counter. And that's it. That's all the food Paradise Plaza proper has. If you're willing to venture into the movie theater, there's a little bit of extra food here. 2 bags of potato chips and a carton of coffee creamer can be found behind the counter. Cinema 2 has another coffee creamer and a pie. Cinema 3 has a coffee creamer and a baguette, and Cinema 5 has a single cabbage. As far as safe spots go, there's a few. Both bookstores allow the player to stand on top of the shelves, and only other human characters can get up there. So if you're alone, this place is safe. You can also do this in the Lady About Town shoe store on the 2nd floor, though it's a little more awkward to get up and down these. There's also that roof you can jump to from the Colombian Roastmasters where the katana is hidden. Jill Sandwiches is also pretty defendable, and you can break one of the windows to escape if the entrance becomes overrun. The safest spot in Paradise Plaza, however, is where the SMG spawns, the location right above the warehouse entrance. You'll need to use the wall kick or the knee drop to get down safely without taking damage, same as the area where you find the katana, but it has the best clock in Paradise Plaza, and it gives you an SMG to get a good view of it via aim mode. The movie theater doesn't have a lot of zombies that spawn in there, but the few that do spawn will not give you much room to breathe. But if you're in here for one reason or another, most likely to hunt down a survivor, every single movie theater will be free of zombies. So, provided you take down any hostile enemies in there, you can just close the doors and be perfectly fine. Let's get the maintenance tunnels out of the way. You start with the keys to the underground from the get-go. The tunnel is strictly filled with cartons of milk. There is one in the underground warehouse, there is one by the bomb truck underneath the food court, another by the truck underneath the entrance plaza, and 2 more in the meat processing area. The underground is filled to the brim with zombies beyond the aforementioned warehouse, which is literally the only safe place down here. This sadly holds true for the meat processing area, which doesn't have any safe places that you can jump to, and is big enough for zombies to respawn if the camera turns away from a corner. Between that and Carlito stalking the player with his truck for most of your 7-day stay here, you're better off avoiding the tunnels for as long as you can help it. The entrance plaza, on the other hand, features a decent amount of food, though not as much as story mode. The shoe store next to the entrance to Paradise Plaza has a bag of chips, as does the kids store that you find Jolie in during the story mode. These are the only 2 stores to maintain their bag of chips here, though. Also, in the item pile from the intro, you'll find a bottle of orange juice. That's it for the 1st floor, the rest of it's on the 2nd floor. Kicks for Her has some orange juice. In the Closet, aka that store you find Bill in, has an apple and some yogurt. Woman's Lib has another bag of chips. And Emeralds, aka the Blue Diamond store that you can find, has another bottle of OJ in the back. As far as safe spots go, there's another 2 bookstores here, which means there's another set of shelves to jump on top of. The ground floor bookstore is also large enough for you to just hide in the back, but given that zombies can break the glass here, I wouldn't recommend it. The shoe store on the ground floor might seem like a good spot, but the zombies can actually climb up most of the shoe cases, and the entrance back into the mall is so small you'll almost certainly have to fight your way out. Instead, if you're on the ground floor, as counterintuitive as this sounds, the front entrance where the zombies are breaking in is actually one of the safest places here. The zombie count inside that area is often very low. Its entrance is very defendable as it's just one open door, the glass being broken won't actually allow zombies to get to you from new angles, and the zombies outside the mall actually can't get in thanks to the gate. And there's a bike nearby that you can use to get back to the other side in a hurry if you need to. One last tip. Several stores in the entrance and Paradise Plaza have changing rooms or closets in the back, but keep in mind that some of these places aren't the easiest to defend. On top of that, zombies can still walk back there and sense you, so I would only go back here in case of an emergency, and look for a more permanent hiding spot if you're trying to find a place to hide. As far as Alfresca Plaza is concerned, most of the food and all of the safe spots are at the 2 far ends. On the side near the entrance plaza, the burger shop has 3 jugs of orange juice, while the Colombian Roastmasters has a jug of milk and 3 pies. If this is the side of the area you're on, the fountain in the middle is your only safe spot. The zombies can surround the fountain, but they can't actually climb in. And you have an SMG to make an opening when it's time to leave. In the center, there's the jewelry store that you find Leia in, and the back counter has a box of cookies. You can defend yourself here with the infinite spawning gems, but zombies are capable of climbing over the counters. Now on the food court side of the plaza, you'll find another box of cookies in the back of the hardware store that Gordon hides in during story mode. And it's easily the safest place in that store. Though you can also jump on top of the shelves. It's a little more finicky than most of the bookstores to do though. Then there's the gym right across from it. Despite the fact that the glass can be broken, it's actually a pretty decent place to hide. Not only does it have a carton of milk that spawns there, but the gym is actually so big that zombies will lose interest in Frank if he stays in the back long enough. And since there's an infinite spawning of weapons, you can deal with the handful of zombies that might sneak in through the automatic doors if that's the way you take in. On top of that, if the door itself is swarmed and you want to leave, you can just break one of the windows yourself and make a run for it. The food court, fittingly enough, has the most food of any one given place. It's also easily one of the safest places in the mall, provided Carlito or Steven haven't spawned here. As far as the food itself goes, the Frozen Dreams ice cream parlor has a carton of milk and a yogurt. Central Tacos has 2 cobs of corn. The burger stand has a baguette. The spicy meatball has 2 zucchinis, and Chris's Fine Foods has 4 bottles of wine. The food court in general is also safe thanks to the zombie count being so low, and nearly every single restaurant is inaccessible to zombies in some way, shape, or form. Though do be aware that some of the smaller ones the counter can get climbed over. On top of that, you can just hide out where the SMG spawns if you want to, or go to where you fight Carlito. Do be aware though that if you're playing the 360 version of this game, there is a very nasty bug. Do not enter it on days 4 to 5, as it will freeze on the loading screen. Thankfully, this bug has been patched in the 2016 remasters. Wonderland Plaza features a disappointingly low selection of food. Wonder Jewels has 2 apples on top of its roof, and the roof of the neighboring Beautification has a grapefruit on top of it. The Lens Zen also has an apple, and if you go inside the store that you fight Joe in, you'll find a bag of chips and some yogurt. The 2 stands with the fruit on top of them double as safe spaces, as do the Lego houses. You can also go into the closet that Mindy and Debbie are in during Paul's battle. If you shut the door behind you, nothing can get you here. North Plaza is very dangerous on the ground floor, but most of the scaffoldings are actually really safe, save for a few stragglers that you'll need to deal with, as well as making sure that you don't, fall off and take fall damage. The CD shop has a jug of milk right next to its entrance, and there's a CD stand that Frank can stand on top of if he needs a moment to heal. The empty store that David was hiding in during the story mode has a gallon of coffee creamer and a spare melon. The room that Isabella hides in during the story mode has 2 bottles of wine, and shutting the door makes it perfectly safe, as no hazards ever spawn in here. The same for the gun shop should you ever find yourself over there, be it in order to take care of Cletus or to get your hands on some ranged weapons. Carlito's hideout is also available, but I wouldn't recommend going in there. While there's never any danger of the hideout, there's no food in there, and leaving it will actually respawn all the zombies in North Plaza, so you'll have to fight your way out of here way more than if you just went into the gun store. The Home Saloon has a Japanese radish and an orange by the counter, but that's about it in terms of this place. Getting on top of the shelves will keep you safe, but none of the shelves are easily accessible from the entrance, and this place is packed with zombies. Unless you are desperate for a good weapon, or a survivor spawned in here and you want some of their loot, I'd recommend avoiding this place. Leisure Park is the last location of them all. 3 boxes of cookies and a single bag of chips can be found at the benches in the flower section of the park. But the big ordeal in terms of food are the apple trees. There are 3 trees that spawn a single apple in this mode. If you want to get them down, you'll have to lob something at them. Bullets are not capable of knocking them down. Any tree that normally has something in it has a rock at the base. That's true for story mode as well. Pick up the rock or some nearby objects, and make sure to throw it at an angle while aiming above the apple itself to account for the arc of Frank's throw. Needless to say, these apples should be your last resort healing items, as it's very easy to take more damage than they will recover. As for the park itself, it already has the king of safe spots, the top of the picnic table. Just time your jump correctly and Frank will grab the edge and pull himself up no problem. There's also the clock tower, but you'll need a sniper rifle to properly view it most of the time, since your camera's disabled. On screen, I have put the default healing values for all of the food that naturally spawns in the mall. An in-game hour passes every 3 blocks of health. This means you will need 72 blocks of healing to survive each day. In order to survive all 7 days to unlock that fancy underpants, you will need a total of 504 blocks of life. Now, taking all the naturally spawning food into the mall, that'll get you 178. Not even enough to make it 3 days, let alone 7. But you can just triple book all the food and then you'll be well and truly set, right? Well, not quite. Remember, you have a max health of 12 and plenty of food items would go over that. But because you can't overheal in this game, that means anything that would heal past the 12 blocks is lost health. So, accounting for the fact that some items can only heal at most 12 blocks, that means that triple booking all the food from day 1 will give you 221 blocks of healing. That is enough to make it to day 7 and get the achievement, but just barely. And it means that for your 14-hour non-stop playthrough, you can only afford to get hit 17 times. After hit 18, you will have taken too much damage to actually get the achievement on mall food alone. That's how small the margins are. I said you could earn this achievement on mall food alone. I never actually encouraged it, and for a good reason. But now for some good news. From the survivors who spawn in the beginning alone, Carlito in the food court, Paul, the Hall family, and Otis, you can easily get halfway into day 2. And the Hall family alone gives you a collective 63 blocks of healing, almost enough for a full 24 hours. And also remember that they spawn again on day 6. Given that there's enough food from survivors alone to make it to the start, nay the end of day 8, and there's enough food, if just barely, in the mall to make it to day 7, using both in tandem with each other gives you a lot more wiggle room than if you just tried to use one or the other. As I said in the Survivor location video, the Infinity mode is not a battle of resource management, and is more so a battle of how much free time you actually have. So, while I wouldn't recommend trying to survive on the mall food alone, knowing where all of it spawns can give you a lot more room for error.